we are at the house of the owners of Baoitup, and we're gonna learn a bunch about how to make bao buns and char siu and all kinds of different things today.
We're gonna be spending some time making some char siu bao and some lapchang bao, and we might even dig into some of the rice cake, Japanese rice cake for you guys weirdos out there.
Absolutely. So we're gonna get this thing started. You wanna introduce yourself real quick?
By the way, this is my lovely wife, Marilyn, and I'm Efren. We've been cooking bao for about 15 to 16 years now. We used to own Alea's Manapua here in Las Vegas. And during the pandemic, we found ourselves having friends needing to get food, and we just started recooking again and started making baos, and we've been doing it for a little while. So we're working on just sharing what we know and sharing the things that we love.
And that's what we're here to do today. This is Bertha. This is what you make all the manapuas in?
That's the Manapua steamer.
Okay.
These steamers right here we use for pork hash. And then we have a different configuration that we use for the rice cake.
Okay.
But they're all stainless steel to make sure that we don't keep, to try to prevent.
What's the difference between this big Bertha one and these littler guys over here?
Just space.
It's just
It's all
space?
space. So if we were to use these, I can only do 4 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Okay.
getting just 2 dozen. Over here I can throw out 36 at a time.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
One of the things about baking is everybody goes, oh, I bake, and they use cups.
Right.
And oh, I do a cup of flour, but they're not shifting, they're not testing. So you wanna make sure you have the proper weight when you're baking.
Okay.
That way your consistency stays same all the way through. And even with us measuring and keeping the consistency, temperature varies here.
Right.
It makes a big difference in the dough, especially when you're rising. If they're rising correctly, your dough ends up looking wet.
Mm-hmm.
If your dough wasn't mixed correctly, you end up looking soggy,
Mm-hmm.
and you end up with cavities. It's one of the biggest things that me and Marilyn challenge that we have here with the dryness. Hawaii, perfect weather.
Right.
You have a 30% humidity
All the
at
time.
a constant ratio.
Right.
You have 79 to 85 degree weather consistently. Here I'm dealing with 105.
Yeah.
2-3% moisture. So a lot of people that do bao in Las Vegas do tend to have a hard time with the dough. All right. Let's go ahead and start getting measurements.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because that's the crazy part. So the first 2 things we're gonna start with is, of course, salt. And I'm gonna show you what we do here to prevent. So salt damages yeast
Mm-hmm.
when they first come into contact. So what we do is we put the salt and the baking powder on the bottom, and we use 1 teaspoon of salt, and then baking powder. We're gonna use 28 grams. Averaging, if you use 8 cups, you'll be fine.
Okay.
But I can't give you the mixture that we're using because it's part of our,
Secret recipe.
yeah, pretty
Absolutely.
much.
Gotcha.
And another thing, by doing this, it allows you to separate it. So if you need to take out, you're not taking out salt on top of it.
That makes sense. Yeah, you don't want to mix it up.
So as I said, it's science. And science has to be done always the same. Give me a second.
Makes sense.
Then you're gonna use a 1/2 cup of sugar.
Okay.
All right, and then the last thing is your yeast.
Do you have a type of yeast that you like to use, or is there a brand that you like to use?
We use Star Brand,
Okay.
and it's the dry instant,
Okay.
and it works for us really well.
You know, everybody's got their preferences.
And then again, it's measurements to make sure you get the proper amount. And we use 14 grams of yeast. Cheers. And And that's the dries.
Awesome.
So now we go to the wets. And the wets for us is all in one batch. Basically, it's water, oil, and milk. So, here, give me a second. So
Sure.
So we're using 370 grams or milligrams of water, whatever you want to use. 190 grams of milk. So what we're doing is adding 50 grams of fat. We're using vegetable oil because we're steaming. So you want the bread to be a little bit more, the consistency a little bit different. So fats make a big difference in baking, especially when you're using the oven. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix. So one of the things about dough is you don't wanna throw all your liquid in at once, especially because what you're trying to do is blend the yeast that's sitting on the top of the sugar into the flour. So we're gonna run it for a couple seconds so we can start mixing, trying to leave what's on the bottom there until we put the water in the liquids. The rice cake that we make in-house is a 18-year recipe in the process of making, and we believe that in the last 6 months we have perfected this. 4-item recipe, 18 years in the making.
So it's just a matter of getting those 4 items at the perfect temperature, the perfect everything in order to make the perfect bao.
Rice cake is my love and hate relationship with Hawaiian culinary. And I'm gonna say it's been a bitch. It is the item that you believe you got right and it flops. And with rice cake, there's no in-betweens.
No.
You get it right or you're just...
Yeah.
And that's one of the things, you go to Hawaii, there's places that hit that perfection every single time. And I've been to the places where...
Yeah, you're like, not so great.
We believe we have arrived at that spot.
Oh, that's cool.
So when we do some of our cooking with the rice cake, we are gonna ask you to shut down the camera. But you want to try to get it to stretch, so that's what kneading does. It stretches the dough and lets the gluten do its job within the flour. She is ready to go.
Look at that.
So what I'm making sure is that the temperature on is hot enough so I can dissolve the sugar, but not too hot where it will kill the yeast.
Okay.
So. Now I'm gonna give you the measurement of our yeast for my rice cake. That's the measurement. By the way, good luck finding this.
Right?
I only have one, and I've told people if anybody loses this, their life ends. So what I'm making sure is, most people let the yeast do its own thing, but I want to make sure that all the yeast is covered in the sugar water. That way it all activates at once, and you don't have switchbacks on your bread when it's in.
Okay.
You want to get it all moist and just fermented at the right time that it activate correctly. So this is going to go into the proofer for 30 minutes. Now we mill rice.
So many like intricate little steps here.
So the rice has been soaking for over 6 hours in cold water. So the reason we soak is if we were to mill this, it would burn because it's hard and doesn't. So what we do is when your rice is ready, it'll break.
Oh.
Wow.
So the milling becomes a lot easier.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So that's why we're soaking the water overnight to make sure it breaks
So
down
it'll
easier.
crumble up like that.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
So if you mill dry, you end up burning your rice. You end up with a brown paste.
So now you're straining it.
From the water was soaking, I want to take as much starch as I can out of the mixture. Look, a brand new grain of rice. So we're using cold water. If you notice, I went to the refrigerator and got the other.
Right.
Oh, shoot. And that's my mix for what's going into the blender. So we're adding to the mixture is 3 cups of sugar.
Okay.
And this is, again, not one of the healthiest treats you'll have, but it's one of the most satisfying.
Yeah.
So we're gonna strain it just to make sure that your rice cake doesn't end up with grits on the bottom. So we're using one of the smallest meshes you can find in a strainer. And again, it's to prevent to get any of the rice particles or rice kernels in. This now goes in.
Back to the proofer.
So what we're trying to do is try to get the temperature of the liquid measured to the temperature of the yeast that I have fermenting right now.
Oh, look at that.
So this is what we prepared last night.
Whew.
This is
Oh,
smoked pork with seasonings. The red color comes from the red bean paste.
So this is what you said you smoked yesterday?
Yep. So I'll do this. Take a piece of that.
Oh, you so lucky.
I'm gonna give you 2.
oh man. Right? Yeah. I could just eat that all day long.
Now,
Those flavors like that make me just like want to start crying. That's so nostalgic. For
Yeah.
Me. Like, oh my god.
Especially growing up in Hawaii.
Oh, that's perfect.
thank you.
Oh. Whew.
Passes the test. Marilyn's the boss. She's showing everybody, telling everybody. She sits back there and just points. You gotta do this.
Yes.
You gotta do that. She's like the foreman of the group.
No, she's not the foreman. She is the commander-in-chief.
There you go.
Remember what it
So as you can see, the yeast is already fermented. We've had it for 30 minutes sitting at 88 degrees.
Wow. That's what it does. That's cool.
So we're gonna mix it up a little bit. And it'll go into this mixture right here. So, for those that don't understand, yeast works in every single way, even wet. So if you have a product or an item that absorbs water, like the rice does, even though it's in puree form, it will create a dense consistency. So what we're doing is the yeast will create the pockets in the rice cake. They'll give it that unique look where the lines are running up and down like a sponge. The honeycomb look. That's what the rice cake is looking for. So the yeast is what produces that. Without the yeast, you'll end up with a mochi.
Okay.
So we here at Baoitup and here at the house, we do each bun about 87 to 92 grams. Again, grams. To try to keep the bun in a consistent look. Try to give it that perfect bun look and they're all the same so they fit in the box nicely. So what we're gonna do is, I'm just gonna rolled it up in a ball so it ferments correctly again. So what we do is, what I do is I take it and it allows the ball to create a soft surface on top.
Okay.
Just pinch it in, just roll it out. So what we're gonna do now is, once that's done, comes the next step. We're gonna do about a 30-minute proof. And what I wanted to do is just let the dough rise So when we press, I can get that flexibility on the dough so it stretches out so I can get the real filling so the dough looks even when you bite into it. So you don't have one bulk on one side and one not. So we're at 88 degrees, proper proofing at 36% humidity. So I'll give it 30 minutes. By that time, I'm gonna also have the rice cake coming out in an hour. So I wrote down the basics. There's two things that I left out for purposes of flavor. But if you wanna create your own chasu mix, it's just sugar, salt, powdered garlic, ginger, anise, fennel, cinnamon, cloves, onion powder, pepper, and red bean paste.
Yeah, just that.
That's pretty much makes your now it's a recipe, and I do apologize, but it is our recipe. And if you just want to make it the simple way, Knowles creates a really good powder that makes it really easy.
There you go.
If you want to take it to the next level, there is also at the international marketplace gives you a couple options on chasu premixtures that are there. Any Chinese location, if you look through the aisles, you'll find a chasu base that you can marinate your meats in. It's a very simple thing to do. If you have a grill, marinate overnight or at least minimum 2 hours. Throw it on the grill at 400 and 450 degrees. Let it cook and sear on both sides. Take it off and now do flaps. Don't do a whole bunch. Just do flaps of your pork belly or whatever you're using for that. Just let it marinate and cook at high heat. That way it cooks fast and simple. Ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
Pocket it. Take your mount. Pinch. So there is 15 manapuas. So we're gonna do this. I'm gonna put this on the side right here.
All right.
Take this and cover. Technique.
Wow, look how fast he does that.
So what I'm doing is I'm separating the little bit of particles that built up on the bottom.
Okay.
And I'm trying to get as much foam uncreated as possible.
So you don't want the foam.
Foam makes not a cool rice cake. And that way you have perfect rice cake. Ooh, yeah. With manapuas, you'll see we'll be using some cloths to prevent the water from sogging. Reason why is the humidity that builds up is going to build up on the top because it's cold.
Okay.
It's going to drip. Very, very crucial in manapuas, but in rice cake it doesn't matter because we're dealing with water. It goes in for 10 minutes.
Okay. Not as long as I thought it would
And then
be.
I cook it for longer,
Okay.
but in a different way.
All right.
That's where we turn everything else off.
I was like 10 minutes seems like that would be a shorter time. I thought it would be
No,
longer.
it's part of what really goes on with the rice cake that we can't share because I can't have people competing in town.
Right.
Of
It's
course.
the same product that we have. When I know
Absolutely.
my product is better.
Oh man.
That's your favorite right there, huh? Is your mouth water? Don't drool on the food.
Yeah, we have to sell this to other people.
Yeah.
I thought these were all for me.
Hardest part of my day.
There you go. Ooh. Looks difficult.
Yep, look. Stressed.
After all that, yeah, I can see how that could be the most hard part.
Oh man. Oh, my arms are hurting.
It took like the most time, I think.
Look at that. Unbelievable.
Beautiful. Worth the time and effort. Oh man.
One down. So now I'm noticing you're leaving a lot of space. Is that also just for
They will
expansion? And
Well, you want the steam to be able to get the more steam that gets around the manapua, the better your cook.
okay.
So you want to try to get as much steam area.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to have that space. We can crowd 12 in there. Let's say I'm pushing for a lot of clients at one time. I'll crowd 12 in each so I can get 5 batches out at one time.
Right.
But today, keeping it simple. Food for nice people.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we've just taken the manapuas off the steamer. Just like beef, just like a good steak, you have to allow it to rest.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you do not let the bread rest in its steamer with the steam, you're gonna end up losing, collapsing, or damaging the bun itself.
Okay.
These are, you have pimples, dimples, and what else is the other name you got? Nipples.
Pimples, dimples, and nipples.
Yeah, so to prevent that, we let it rest for 5 to 10 minutes. And you know your manapua is done when it comes out looking like that.
Oh
my God.
my God.
So on any given day, we can make up to 350 of these.
So you can take the big orders.
We can take big orders because we can cater, we can take big orders, or we can just especially make an event for anybody in town. So if you're looking for baos, this is where to go.
I
think this
100%
is where you
agree.
need to go. Look at those bows.
Oh
Look
my
at those
God.
manapuas. They're beautiful.
You put it in the holder so it proofs.
So you put it back in there again.
Just leave it in there for the next 20, 30 minutes. Let it sit. You don't want to put it in the cold really too quick. Because again, your bread will collapse and it won't look good. So you let it stay for about 20 minutes in here and then you can throw them in the fridge.
Look at these things. Oh my gosh. Steam coming off of those.
Ooh,
So it's final time.
it is.
So we're gonna try the char siu first.
Oh my God.
Let's do this. And you gotta remember to take the paper out.
Show them the amazingness. of
Look at the bake on the bun, then look at the char siu in there. That
Oh my God.
is the most amazing thing. Did you eat
And I'm smelling.
Oh,
I'm smelling it.
did you eat it before?
No, I waited, but I was smelling.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh my God.
Once it touches your lips, it's the most amazing thing in the
I
world.
might cry. Oh my God.
The flavor is amazing. The bun, I'm a texture guy, so the bun, the bao bun, so soft, so fluffy. And it's got the little stickiness on the outside, which I love.
Mm-hmm.
The char siu is,
I got it, baby.
man, this char siu is amazing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know
She stopped talking, that's when you know it's a good thing.
Mm. This is everything I miss about Hawaii. And you can ask Josh, I don't miss a lot. I'm kind of like grumpy about going back to Hawaii sometimes. I miss,
I like Hawaii more than she likes Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the one thing I always miss, especially moving here in the 90s when there was nothing to eat from Hawaii here. This is, oh my gosh, this reminds me of home.
Reminds me of you being a kid?
Uh-huh.
All right. Oh my gosh, what's this?
So this is my pork hash sauce, but it goes really well with lapchang.
Okay.
So just a little dip on the corner. It's
Okay.
mustard, horseradish sauce. It has sesame seed oil. It has
Ooh.
soy sauce, and it has a little bit of a dumpling sauce also in there. It's just a good combination of flavors that I believe work well with that.
And this is the lapchang.
Yeah.
So just put a little corn in there.
Yep.
All right. Oh my God.
You can't even make it through a full bite before we're like, oh.
That is actually a really cool flavor. It contrasts everything. Like it's like, so this is one and it's like a completely different flavor profile, and it puts them together and it really works amazing. Try that's great. This is,
Just like that, yeah.
So that's what I do for my pork hash. That's my pork hash sauce.
Really?
I've lost, you broke my mouth.
Yeah.
I did it!
Yeah.
I did it!
100%.
My grandsons did it.
Yeah, it's, I am thrown or blown away. I don't very often get lost for words, but I'm stumbling over everything I'm
I
saying.
know.
So no, this is.
That's
You
an
like
honor to
that
me.
sausage taste?
I love the sausage. I love the bun. I love the sauce. I love all of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is. You guys are blowing it out of the park.
Baoitup.com is just a link.
But you do most of it through Facebook, right?
We do everything for Facebook.
Right.
It's just a way to get to our splash page on Facebook or Instagram. We take our orders through Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
I try to do every Thursday morning. We don't guarantee because this is not a business. This we run when we have time and we enjoy cooking.
Yeah.
And we just do it because we love.
Look how pretty that is.
Beautiful.
We do it for the love of the art. I believe that bao making is an art. When my clients leave, I'm not looking for them to go, oh, it's a good one. I'm looking for them to call me back from the corner by the park and say, hey, we stopped to try them and thank you for taking us back.
Yeah.
Thank you for making us feel like I was sitting on the beach in Hawaii,
Yeah.
having a manapua,
Yep.
a pork hash,
Mhm.
and the memories that come with it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, pork hash is a memory. It's my daughter, my first real encounter with my oldest daughter, Kelly.
Yeah.
But she goes, I want to share something with you. And it became my thing.
Mhm.
And I love pork hash to death. I think it's one of the best products in the world. But it brings memories. Manapuas is my connection to my son
Mm-hmm.
because he's the one that taught me the art.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes in, and every time I make one, I don't do it for me, for you. I do it for the experience of knowing that I have something that belongs to my family and it's ours.
Yeah.
Uh,
So you're doing it for the right reasons.
love. My mom really said that love has a lot to do with flavor.
Sure does.
And I've met people that have done the same recipes as I, doing the same thing.
Mhm.
Side by side, we've done it. And at the end of the product, there's always a little difference. And is it real? Is it not real? Is the flavor of love, can it really transmit into food?
I think so.
I do believe it
Yeah.
does. A bowl of Spanish rice and pasteles in Puerto Rico, for
Mhm.
me, made by my mom, had just a flavor that was uncomparable.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, we go to my aunt's house that cooks exactly the same to my mom, and it wasn't there.
Well, and you talk about that a lot.
My
with
grandma's spaghetti soup.
The
Yeah.
passion.
Yeah.
There's something that projects into the food and just grabs.
Mhm.
It's an essence, a feel. We talk about it constantly where we know that family food is more important.
I agree.
And if you get to this place right here, this table is everything. And I say is everything because this is our meal place.
Yeah.
This is our hangout place. This is our. My mom made dinners very important. That
Mhm.
was the one thing that my mom made sure that Monday through Friday we had dinner as a family. When I met Marilyn, they didn't do the Monday through Friday, but they did the Saturday and Sunday thing in Hawaii, where it was always. And my dinner table came to the same place. You know, it's where you can see this table has been through some
It's
pain,
got some wear on it because
Yeah.
you've been doing it.
and it's just important that you have the right dinner table and the food just complements it.
Yeah, and that brings me back because, like, growing up, it was very much the same in an Italian family. Like, we typically would meet in the kitchen. We'd sit at there was a giant dining table like this in the kitchen, and that's where you would spend most of the day. You didn't spend the day in the living room. That's where you spent the evening.
Yeah.
The day was spent in the kitchen and on the dining room. Everybody's sitting around and eating
Especially if
all
you're
day long.
making pasta, if you're making sauces and
Mhm.
stuff, you start at 8 in the morning. My
Mhm.
mom did that for lasagna. She would sit in the morning and my dad's cutting tomatoes and
Mhm.
getting all the herbs ready. And you know it's going to be a good day at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
And it's my kids, every Saturday my son wakes up and he goes, yeah, I hope that there's leftovers.
Mhm.
And that's nice to know that your kids are still eating your leftovers.
Mhm.
So I'm going to give you the quick recipe. 1 can of water chestnut sliced. So you're going to need 20 grams of chopped onions. So you'll notice that they're not getting too small. This is pretty much the, and anything else will break inside. Put you there. 140.
Enough.
Perfect.
All right, for the measurements I'm giving you, you will use 35 grams of tapioca starch. Salt, it'll be a quarter teaspoon for your measurement. Same amount of pepper, quarter. I'm doing 4 batches, so I'm using a whole teaspoon. Then half a teaspoon of garlic
Powder?
garlic.
Oh, that sounds good.
So the trick of what I'm doing right now is I'm letting everything else be coated in tapioca. That way, when you put the pork on, it allows everything to mix in, blend in correctly.
Nice.
Then once the brown pork is in, we'll put in the wets.
Okay.
That way everything's blended. So right now, let me go get the meat. Start from the bottom. And we're mixing it before we put in the wets.
Okay.
I want this dry, the tapioca, the salt, and everything to be mixed in. And salt tends to dehydrate and pull out moisture. And when it resets it in within 5-6 minutes, then you have salted pork.
Nice.
That's the whole purpose of letting a dry rub sit, so it allows the salt. So we're gonna let this sit for a little bit while I get the wet mixture ready. Break this all apart. But you don't wanna break it to where you're squeezing it together. You don't wanna make lumps. You just wanna get everything built in and mixed in correctly. That's all we're doing is mixing. We're not forcing it to stick together. You wanna keep that nice, airy pork. So you got the 50 grams of oyster sauce, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're gonna need 30 milligrams of soy sauce.
And you're using Aloha Shoyu.
Oh yeah. And then the last but not least, and this is where I believe most people make their biggest mistake. Sesame seed oil.
Okay.
A lot of people buy blends.
Okay.
It's cheaper.
Right.
I understand that. But the difference in between a blend sesame oil and real sesame oil is that bold sesame flavor that comes out. So before I put the mix in, I'm blending it in to make sure that everything's mixed up. Make sure the sesame seed oil is mixed in. That way it
Okay.
doesn't just levitate on top.
So did you learn to cook like these kind of flavors once you met your wife?
Yes.
Okay.
I come from a Italian, Puerto Rican background in cuisine.
Okay.
My mom was big into Italian food and Puerto Rican food. Her restaurant dedicated itself to Puerto Rican and Italian food.
Mm-hmm.
I worked back at the house with her for a couple of years when she had her place. And when I left, I joined the military, never thought about it. And so I started cooking with Marilyn again and Matt. Started cooking for clients because I didn't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like I told you earlier, you don't want to overmix because you end up with, how you call it, over squeezed in meat. As you can see, there's a lot of air in there.
Mm-hmm.
You want the flavor to mix, but you want the air in there. Without no air, and then it just doesn't come out the same.
Okay.
So this is ready. I'm gonna let this sit. We're gonna cover this up for about 10 minutes, just so the flavors blend in a little bit.
If you blinked, you missed it.
Yep. It's not hard. But I like to keep them consistent, so we use 1.5 ounces in every single one of them. Marilyn uses water to seal, I just use pressure.
So now this scoop is exactly an ounce and a half.
1.5 ounces.
Beautiful.
So you're gonna grab your wrap, okay?
A what?
And you're not gonna pressure, you're just gonna bring it to clean it out.
Mm-hmm. Just to flatten it?
Just a flat scoop, not pressured in, just
That?
drop it in. the fold.
So it's these two.
Yep. Bring this one up, turn it around. Bring this one up. Now comes the part that you gotta, so when you have it both, all the way, grab it,
Grab it.
put it in that hand. You left-handed or right-handed?
Right-handed.
Put it in that hand.
Okay.
So put it sideways,
Sideways.
grab it right here. You can grab the top and try to bring it all together in,
Okay, okay.
right on top. And then you're just gonna give it a neat squeeze to where you see clear coming out the bottom. Then just pop the bottom and you're done.
Pop it. So you just tap it?
So let's take a look at what we got. So
I think mine's
right here.
done.
No, you're almost done. And you just pressure it
Oh, okay.
to where it doesn't break through.
Okay.
That's why she married me. She knew that she needed somebody like me.
So I'm gonna teach him a few things and he's
If
gonna
not, she'd
surpass
just be
me.
a regular.
I just make him believe he can cook.
Oh!
Oh, girl, I can't believe you said that about your husband.
Whoa. So cool.
How's that, huh?
Would you just look at that?
You want to look for sponge.
Yeah, look at that.
Sponge look.
That is actually really.
I actually quite enjoy it like this.
That's the first time I actually liked rice cake. I'm gonna be honest with you.
You heard that, baby?
Are you wanting some more?
I'll take another bite.
I can live with that. A man
Right?
that doesn't like it saying I can live with this?
He does not eat rice cake.
Well, he does now.
Look at that whole.
It's beautiful.
That's what
Like,
I
that's what
we
you
get. We
look
get. We
for.
get excited when we see these funny
Yeah.
cones.
Mhm.
That's exactly
what you wanna see.
What you want to see. Like,
Oh my god, weirdos.
hi.
We did it. We went to Baoitup, or they make their stuff at their house, not at their actual place. And holy cow, this was amazing. They made some of the best food that I've had in such a long time. It was such a cool experience to see how it's done, all the things that go into everything. It was just a great experience altogether.
I don't know if you could hear me in my ear, but I was actually breathing a little bit heavier because I'm so full right now.
Oh.
Like, it's so much good food. Yeah, this was crazy because I've never learned how to make the food that I ate when I was a kid, but it was a very nostalgic moment for me eating all the food because it just felt like being home.
Absolutely. So make sure to check them out. We've done a video on them before, baoitup.com. You can order from them on Facebook. Look them up on Baoitup, Baoitup. Check them out.
Mhm.
You can order through them on Facebook Messenger. Come to their place, pick it up. I highly suggest them. If you love Hawaiian food, if you love bao buns, if you love any of those like Asian flavors, this is the place to get it because it's the best flavors you're gonna find in town.
No joke. If you're from Hawaii but you miss the food, you need to come to Baoitup.
100%. Guys, thank you
Thank
so
you so much,
much.
guys.
It was amazing.
Aloha, mahalo.
Aloha. This is the greatest food. I definitely recommend. Come here and see these guys. They're gonna fill you up and they're gonna break your mouth.
Well, that's how Marilyn sets up my appointments. She doesn't care how much work I gotta do. She's like, you have to do this much work. Now! That's the whole purpose.
Yeah, that's the point, right?
How you think I convinced her to marry me? I can cook!